Today's video is a little different. Okay. I'm getting a little hot and nervous and sweaty. How best I start this? I've had a pretty bad week mentally. I share so much. Well, I share some stuff. I don't share a lot online. And did a decent part of my maturing on the internet. Especially my university journey. I realized that like even my bad moments of uni that I share are quite, I really focus through a comical lens, and you know, we all share those moments, and like, you know, I just document them, we all laugh. But I've never actually kind of like been honest, especially with us getting to like my final year of studying. I thought, why not basically share the story? You can tell by the title. About the time that I actually was this close to dropping out. It was bad, it was real. Yeah, basically I'll be sharing that today. So let's get into this video. This is the video you stumbled across on the World Wide Web. This is not normally what we do over here, so go and check out the like fun stuff. This isn't fun, and I'm going to try my best to keep it together because one thing I don't believe in is crying on the internet. Abolish that. If I do cry, we'll cut it and you won't see that. I think it might benefit us starting like in my childhood to like understand like the person I was. From a very young age, I've always kind of like displayed a certain intellect. Like I've always enjoyed reading, and I would read anything. That's one thing about me. I would literally, if it's a book and it can be picked up and it's in a language I can speak, I'm reading it. That's just that. In addition to that, I was an extremely curious child. Sometimes to my own detriment. Not everything you have to know, but I was a very curious child, and I think a combination of those two traits result in just being bright or like academically gifted. And from the onset, I've been surrounded by supportive parents, but then also older cousins and family members that would pour into me like, oh, you're smart, thus you can do whatever you put your mind to. And obviously living across Europe and growing up speaking a bunch of different languages, that also contributed to it, because it just does. If I enjoyed a subject, I was extremely good at it. If I didn't, I'll just make sure I'm good enough to get the grades that, you know, I'll be happy with. And I got accustomed to, you know, very much A's and A stars. That was the brand. Everyone knows Ace didn't play with the studies, but on the side, I was also extremely gifted in a sense when it came to my extracurriculars. Call me an all-round student. That, like, I think that was very much it. Like, we're talking rugby, track and field, cheerleading, music, theatre, debating, school governance. Like, I was very much doing it all. And I think one problem with that, looking back now, obviously, shout out to therapy, it's working. I distracted myself by doing so much that I never actually like got to know myself. When you're consistently told, oh, you're really smart, oh, you can do this, you'll do that, you'll do that, that eventually just becomes your entire like identity. So when you then put into spaces that you don't perform at the level you're normally used to, you start thinking, wait, so what am I? Yeah, I think the onset, when things started kind of getting dark, was sixth form. That was an interesting period. Going in, doing 5 subjects was cool. Obviously, even though from the UK, A-levels, like the kind of like pre-university stage. Yeah, I was really stretched thin based on like also everything I was doing extracurricular, on my extracurriculars. And I wanted to do every extracurricular because I wanted the best application for university. So we applied for university and we got in, and it was all great, you know. I had some bad days, but then I just thought, that's a slump. 1-2 days, like, we can get over that. The chapter where it all went down. I've never actually articulated this, so this is really, really tough right now. In my first year, obviously, if you've been here for a while, shout out OG subscribers, y'all know the vibe, y'all know how we do, baby. I I moved to London. I started at King's College London. The first few weeks were rough, extremely rough. I grew up around the same people, so like making friends was never a thing I had to do. Because so my tactic is, and it works well, I have one friend and I just stick around, and eventually the people they meet, I meet, and thus that's just how it works for me. I'm not the most comfortable, especially in one-on-one social situations, but then again, I'm also not good in very big groups. So so yeah, the first few weeks of uni were really rough. I remember calling my mum in like week 1, week 2. I was like, I kind of want to go home now. And she was just like, oh, you're not the first to do university, you're not going to be the last, you'll be alright, you know. It's just cool. The problem started rising when it came to academia. So doing a multidisciplinary degree such as German and linguistics, on the German aspect, I don't normally discuss that on YouTube just because it's like I like to just keep uni, but you get to do so many a range of various modules because it's meant to like strengthen you across 4 years. You had some compulsory modules and then some, what did you choose? So like compulsory, you obviously have like your translation, core language, so the actual German speaking part of the degree, but then also German literature was compulsory. And then what else did I do in my first year? I don't remember the good things. But on the optional side, Ehis went ahead to pick an introduction to German history, an introduction to politics, and the German Reformation in terms of all things religion around Europe and Age of Enlightenment, and then lastly 120 years of German cinema. Now, prior to this, all the subjects I've done have been interesting, but nothing's, well, apart from GCSE maths, nothing's ever been hard for me. Like, I've never struggled academically. The 120 years of German cinema module was one that I really couldn't get my head around. I just struggled to grasp. Like, I was exceptionally good at like English literature and your history. Like, essay subjects, call my name, I'm there, and I'll perform. Employee of the month, student of the week, yes. But I just couldn't get how to transition from analyzing literature to analyzing film, because some skills were obviously like, yeah, shared, but with film it was just something very different. One, I didn't get the films, let's just put that there. I really enjoy watching series, like that's me. So like movies in general I don't watch. Unfortunately, if it's not the Avengers on my screen and if it's not by the MCU, I am not invested. So these films are like in black and white and very, you know, we're talking realism, we're talking experimentalism and all these, you know, other terms. So I didn't get the movies, that's one. Then I also really found the reading challenging. Like, I couldn't understand what we're reading and what we're reading for. Like, for example, in other modules, let's take history, for example, we'll talk about, you know, Cold War. Cool, the readings will be in relation to the Cold War. But I just didn't see how things were clicking here. And I kid you not, one thing about me, I hate embarrassment. I sweat, I overthink, I get extremely anxious. I wouldn't ask questions in the seminar because everyone, like, it was just one of them ones where everyone got it, apart from me. Or everyone at least made it look like they got it. So I wouldn't ask questions because I would then be the one like that's holding the class back. So when people are like raising points and they're seeing all these things in the films that, I'm sorry, we watched the same movie, I didn't see that. I sat for 2 hours and clearly maybe I watched the wrong thing. Everyone would just like drop all their knowledge and drop their gems, and then it's like a discussion between the seminar leader, and I'm just like, what? How did we get here? I don't understand how we got here. Couldn't do that. But then in, for example, office hours where like you can meet the seminar tutor one-on-one, I'd go in and be like, oh yeah, I didn't really get this. And then so many terms would be thrown at me because film is such a niche. But then every subject is niche, so I'm a liar. I just wasn't comfortable with the vocabulary of that field, if that makes sense. So like I'd sat there and they'd be like, yeah, the mise en scène and the lighting and the camera work and the editing. I'm like, editing? I just about edit YouTube videos. this is my first year. I just about knew how to edit YouTube videos, so I don't know what this all means. And because in those moments I would get extremely overwhelmed, I would just kind of like sit there and nod. One of my biggest downfalls. Instead of actually being like, hey, okay, slow down. I don't get this shit. Nothing makes fucking sense to me. So I'll just sit there and be like, okay, yeah. Then obviously came the first formative assessment. So formatives being, you know, you practice your final essay. So the final essay for that was, I think, a 3,000 word or 4,000 word essay. So we had like a little sequence thing that we had to analyze. And for that I was just like, okay, cool, you know what, let's try. In that week, anytime I picked up the work, I don't know what it was, but it just felt like there was just a dark cloud weighing me down. And I was just like, I don't like this feeling. I don't know what this is. I've never felt this sort of academic depression before. So I wasn't really eating, and that week was just bad. Like, we're talking, I don't think my blinds opened. I was very much like existing as a zombie. It was reading week as well, I remember vividly. So because I'm anemic, and like when I don't keep my diet in check, it can get bad. I eventually had an appointment with the GP, and I think in my demeanor alone, maybe, it was quite clear that something was wrong. So he then had this conversation of, oh, how are you feeling? We're just talking, and then next thing you know, he basically does this whole like analysis that, I think you're depressed. I was like, okay, wait, sir, first of all, where I'm from, we don't use this language. We don't use this language. We are not used to this. This is not what we normally do. Normally we get the grades, we get the work, and we go. I'm a very stubborn child. So I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, you are. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, when was the last time you eaten? And I actually have to think, because I don't think I ate that day, or maybe even the day prior. So it's just how you're depressed. I was like, hey, you're not gonna tell me who I am. Like, that's not how it works, okay? If you say I'm funny, I'll say yeah, because I am. If you say I have style, I'll say yeah, because I am. If you say I'm stubborn, I'll say yeah, because I am. If you say I'm depressed, I'll say no, because I wasn't. Eventually, I just couldn't submit the paper because I wasn't doing well. I remember being checked into hospital for that week. So I didn't get a practice in for that essay. You'll see where it's going. I was still struggling, like very much struggling that term, just as a whole. Like it just wasn't healthy. And one thing, I don't work at night. Like, I'm very much a 7 a.m. riser, start my day, by like 11 we wrap it up. Like, the only time you'll catch me up at like 1, 2, 3 a.m. working is literally exam season, or I'm working on a video that needs to be submitted because it's a brand deal, that kind of vibe. So I like just getting my shit done during the day. So during that term, I was very much studying 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. with lectures the following day. Like, I remember one time I was submitting a paper for a different class, very much not eating, not sleeping, and I was falling asleep to the extent, I was falling asleep walking, where I worried about myself, and I then ended up having to call my dad back home and ask him to stay on the phone with me until I submit the paper, and I'll go to my 9 a.m. lecture. This was at maybe 6 a.m. So things were bad, but I don't think I was ready to acknowledge that things were bad, because I've never had this, like, this is new to me. This is a very much unopened chapter. Then came exam season of my first year of uni. Trigger warning, it gets dark from out here. So if you're not used to language around depression, suicide, anxiety, I would go off this video just for the sake of your own benefit. Yeah, then came exam season, and exam season was really bad. Based on my first visit with the GP, I was asked to revisit, I think on a bi-weekly basis. During exam season, when I went for a check-in, I had to fill out this questionnaire, and one being, oh, in the last 14 days, have you ever considered suicide. I think I was learning how to be honest with myself, because when the thoughts cross your mind, the thoughts cross your mind, but you don't articulate them, you don't speak to anyone about them. So I ticked yes, and eventually the long-term solution was getting me on antidepressants, which help. Like, I'm still on them now, but I wasn't taking them. Yeah. Back to the film module. It was now obviously time to write 3,000 words based on having no practice and never ever receiving feedback, because I never submitted anything for the class. So you obviously have to watch a film and write about the film. Yeah, cool. So I picked the most, not modern, but the film that I understood the plot for the most. And I was watching it. I think I had like a week to the deadline. So you can tell, one, I normally start my anything way in advance, because one thing about me, I don't work well under pressure. Pressure, me, but we don't mix, we don't gel. So I had 1 week to write 3,000 words, which is, for me, impossible. I don't like that. I don't like stress. For this one, I was watching the movie, what, Nosferatu? Yeah, that vampire one, mad. And I think maybe 15 minutes in, I just started crying. And I had to pause it. Like, literally, there was just tears. And I was like, hey, what the fuck is going on? You don't have the time to cry, because this needs doing and this needs submitting. So, across that week, I don't remember that week. And I think that speaks for itself to an extent. I have no recollection of what was done. I just remember that it was due on Tuesday at 4 p.m. On Monday, I finished, and I told myself, oh, I'll read over this, but I was just like, I don't, it didn't feel good. Normally when I write, I write. That's one thing about me. I think I am a very, very good writer, especially when it comes to my essays. So normally when I read over them, I'm like, oh, y'all need to publish this shit. Damn, the boy's writing. Like, I'll get to some points, I'll be like, the boy's spitting facts and figures, of course. And the feeling I had in all my other modules for like introduction to history, politics, linguistics, translation, anytime I like do the work, I'd read over it and feel so proud of myself, because I know it's good. And when I get the grades back, it confirms that. With this essay, I read my introduction and I stopped reading. I just said, listen, I'm submitting this. And I just hope, like, I just wanted, give me a 2-1. If I get a 2-2, that's fine. And I'll just, you know, keep it stepping. My other modules are doing well enough that, like, I can afford to just kind of like leave this one to God and just, you know. And after that film module, I just thought, you know, oh, burden lifted, this is done. I'll never do a film module again in my life. I'm doing one this year. I'm doing one this year, but we've learned, I guess. Then results day came, and they published the marks for that module, and I failed. Yep, I failed. Now, it sounds very dramatic, yeah, but prior to this, I've never failed anything in my life. And I think seeing 32 out of 100, I just didn't know how to process it. So, like, I think for the first 2 days, I was in denial. I didn't respond to the email that was like, hey, you failed this essay, and you didn't pass this class. I was just like, something's wrong. It didn't register until like the 3rd day. I think I woke up, I was meant to go to class, and I literally just froze in bed and I was like, you need 40 to just pass. You couldn't even get 40. And like I said in the beginning, when you grow up and so much of your value as a person is tied to what you can accomplish academically, when you don't perform to that standard you've set for yourself, or your track record, I guess, crisis. And that's what it was for me, crisis. And it spiraled for a while. Obviously there was the whole arrangements with uni to like retake the essay over the summer period, because obviously I cannot proceed to my second year of studies and I cannot apply for a year abroad unless I pass all my classes. Like, one essay basically ruined my entire summer, because in my summer I had to like rewatch the films and like rewatch lectures, and obviously teachers aren't necessarily responding because they don't have to over summer, so you're kind of literally left to your own devices. Every single time I like open my MacBook to start typing, I just flash back immediately to the night I was crying when I wanted to start the essay, when I was watching the film. So I literally couldn't pick myself up. So the initial deadline I had over summer, by the way, well, maybe mid-August or something, I couldn't meet because mentally I just couldn't, and I had to like complete the whole form to get like an extension. And I don't think I've ever been so honest in my life. I literally sent an extension. I'm not doing well. I just don't like the hold this module has over me, and the fact that like I can't. It seems like my entire university experience in my first year was like just thrown away because of this one class. And they're just, yeah, sure, here's an extension. I was like, oh, that's all? You only got more at the back? Okay. So again, this was now shifted to at the end of August. Bearing in mind, I need people to understand why it was also getting worse, because everyone's prepping to come back for their second year of uni. I don't know if I was coming back. 2 days before the third submission day, yeah. So the initial submission day I failed. Then I asked for an extension, so the third date, I guess. 2 days prior to that, I remember I was in my bed upstairs, obviously in my family home in Manchester. I was sat there with my MacBook and the Word document was open. I maybe had like, what, 1,500, 1,700 words. They weren't good. They weren't good words at all. But I had something on paper. And I vividly remember, for those that have a MacBook, you know, swipe to the side, new page, Google, my KCL, like the uni platform thing, clicks, withdraw, interrupt, like that, basically, that the tab that's basically saying you want to stop this, because all my friends were like, oh my god, who's moving in with who? Who's moving in with who? And I was generally sat here like, I haven't submitted an essay, I don't know if I'm coming back to London. And in my head, obviously, because I have so many older friends that like, obviously I've went to uni before me, we always hear like, oh, first year is your easiest year. I think I felt like that day, because the deadline was on a Tuesday, so that Sunday afternoon lasted 2 weeks. Like, it felt like such a long day, because everything was going on in my head. Because when everyone was saying, oh yeah, first year is your easiest year, it only gets harder, or second year is so tough, or in your final year, oh my god, you're gonna be stretched so hard. By the skin of my teeth, it's by the skin of my teeth that I'm even here in this current predicament. You're telling me it gets harder? Count me out. Count me out. So I was reading through like, or like I didn't even understand what I was reading, but I was just like, I think if I can't hack this, who's sabi do second year? That was the only question I had for myself, because if I can't do this, let it end. So I was reading over the whole dropping out thing. I was so close, but the only thing that like rang in my head was like, and literally I just thought of like all the revision sessions I was doing for like GCSEs to get good GCSEs, the sleepless amount of nights I spent in the Salford University Library back in Manchester prepping for my A-level exams to get good A-levels so that I could go to a university in London. I was just like, all this for what? And I can't even pinpoint what exactly it was, but just something that was like, this is just one class. It's one module, 15 credit module. Just get something in. But then another voice in my head was like, yeah, you got something in the first time and you didn't get 40%. and that's all you needed to pass. Like you didn't. So what makes you think now you would? It was just so demotivating that like I said, okay, cool, you know what? Oh, I've picked myself back up. I'm not gonna drop out. But then when I faced the essay again, it was like, I don't know how to do this. And obviously, unless the essay is submitted, that second week of September would have come and I wasn't going anywhere. Moving back? I moving back to uni? Wasn't happening. And when everyone was like, oh my God, where's everyone living? Like all these group chats, conversations, I was quiet. People are like, oh yeah, he's traveled. That's why he's not replying. Yo, I didn't know if I was coming back. I'm gonna wrap this up because this video feels like it took ages, and I'm getting the next 72 hours. I couldn't tell you what happened, but in my head as I was writing and like just figuring things out and like going through articles and doing reading, I always kept flashing back to you can just get this all over with if you just complete that form to drop out. Like just drop out, take it, try it again later. Maybe you're just not mature enough for uni. Like there was so much doubt. Obviously then I say again, submitted it, cool, passed, obviously capped at 40% because I failed the first time. So yeah, yeah, it was tough. So a lot of times when people are like, oh, first year uni experiences, I just black. Like, you had the time of your life? Good. Can't relate. Oh, my battery's flashing. Oh, damn. Okay. I'll wrap this up. A few hours later, it's getting dark. Yeah, that was basically that. I don't know why I felt led to share that today. Sorry, normally I'm very conscious in, you know, oh, let's all have fun together on a Sunday evening, and I felt like I've just dumped this onto you guys. And I feel like sometimes I just make it look like, oh yeah, he's just struggling, but you know, is he really? Like a lot of my friends tend to always make that comment of like, oh yeah, you say you're struggling, but really and truly like the grades are good, this and this and that, and it's like, because y'all don't know about this one, y'all don't know about this one. Moral of the story, I've just decided that whether I'm smart or not actually doesn't matter. Like, I'm cool. Yeah, that was basically my story of how I was disclosed like a rat on the highway to dropping out. This is so tough because I haven't shared the story to anyone. So like everyone that's going to watch this, please don't message me. Please, I'm talking like family and friends. Please don't message me. Please don't bring this up. Because that's gonna be so awkward. I think looking back, I did all that alone when I didn't have to. Looking back, I have a fantastic support system of, you know, both of my parents that I didn't really use, but then on top of that, like my siblings are like an absolutely amazing group of friends. But then also, you know, the facilities offered by the university that I just didn't use because I don't think, yeah, because I don't think. It was very tough for me to get out, but I just feel like a load is lifted. See you next week, and bye. Peace out and them things there, you know. See you next Sunday, 7 PM. I promise it won't be like this. Yeah. Awkward. Bye.